Hey guys, how's it going? I thought I would sit down today and talk with you a little bit about how I am preparing for next spring and keeping my seeds all in order, because it can be a lot to handle when you're just looking at a bunch of packets of seeds that all need different requirements and different spacing, and you got to start them at different times, and then how do you organize them so you know how many you need to plant and where you're going to plant them. It can just be a whole lot to think about. So I went through on Google Sheets and made a spreadsheet of all the different varieties that I have. I had a few left over from last year, but for the most part I just started growing my seed inventory this fall, and I have 92 varieties that I'm planning on planting next year, and I only live on 1/4 of an acre with very, very minimal sun. So I gotta get kind of creative, and I gotta be very organized with what I want to plant. So I wanted to go through and show you how I am making a diagram to help me know where I'm going to plant all of these varieties, how many I need to plant. And then from there, you can plan out when you need to start them all, and you'll be ready for next season, because it is just a lot to think about, especially as you start growing your seed collection. This here is my inventory that I have on Google Sheets. It's just very simple. I've got the variety here in column A. In column B, I have where it's gonna go. In column C, I've started to label what season I'm going to be growing them in. So like bunching onions and lettuce, obviously those are going to be spring and fall crops, whereas you get down into, peppers and tomatoes and stuff, and obviously those are going to be grown in the summer. So I've taken a sheet of graph paper and made a rendering of my planting space that I have. So this doesn't have to be perfect by any means. You don't have to be a great artist to do this. It's just a little something so you get an idea of what your space looks like, what you're working with, and go from there. So this is the space that I have that's full sun, and this is what I call my summer garden, because this is in full sun in the summer, whereas this sheet right here is where I have the most sun in my yard during the spring, winter, and fall. So I have a little bit of an interesting situation, whereas I don't have to rip out my spring crops in order to plant summer crops, and same for fall, because they're two separate areas of my yard. So this one is just a square because we built the fence around it in another video. I will link that in the description if you guys want to see that. And that is a total of 260 square feet. So this one was much easier to plan out. I have a pathway here, and then a pathway through here, and a pathway all around here. So everything is easy to access, whereas this one here, it's gonna be a tighter fit, but this is all I'm working with for sun, other than my pumpkin patch, which is already gonna be maxed out. So this is where I have to fit all of my beans and tomatoes and peppers and everything else that I wanna grow. So if you'll see here, I have a garden here and a garden here. This area here and this area here is right up against my house, so it gets shade, so I can't really use that planting space for any of my vegetables. So this pathway is the largest pathway, and I'm going to build trellises over here so then I can grow my beans. And I have a black-eyed Susan vine that I really want to grow here, and I'm going to grow my loofah gourds down here. And then you'll see all these dots that run all over the paper. Those are the spacings for the different things that are going to live here. So if you'll see, all of my crops are labeled with a number, and that number corresponds to what's on the paper. So you'll see here, this one says 36 will go here, 36 will go there. So I go up here to 36. And you'll see 36 is Blushing Susie Black-Eyed Susan Vine. That is these. So then I look on the packet at the spacing requirement, and it wants 10 to 12 inches apart. And since each of these squares represent 1 foot, I, roughly placed a dot 10 to 12 inches apart, so I know I can put 3 over here and 3 over here, and they'll grow across this trellis that I'll have over the walkway. And so I know that I need to start 6 of these seeds. And it goes on through all of them. This guy, 61, we'll go over to the computer and look at 61. 61 belongs to loofah gourds. And so then if we go to our seeds and look at loofah, it wants to be planted 18 to 24 inches apart. So that's roughly what I did here with the dots. So I also need to start 6 of these. And then we move over to the tomatoes, and for this guy, I have several tomatoes. And so these will be all just kind of randomly placed amongst this area here, 34, 56, and 57, because that's what these tomatoes have corresponded on my Google Sheets. And these varieties all have the same planting spaces, so I was able to just make one section for those, and I'll just start, I'll count how many. So 1, 2, 3, 4, like 15 of these. So I can probably start like 5 of each of these and then plant those accordingly in the corresponding area in my garden. So this is what I did for the entire way. And then I have a little raised bed over there that I'm going to dedicate to seed potatoes again. And your rendering of your garden does not have to be accurate. It just has to be close enough. This is just to give you a rough idea, because even though, I can probably fit 5 of each tomatoes, I'm probably going to start a few more. I can give the rest away to my parents. They like to grow tomatoes. Or, you just never know what will happen. A seedling doesn't make it, or the germination rate isn't 100%. So I'll still start more than I can fit in my garden. This is just a place to start. And this is just the way that made most sense to me to keep track of what I want to be growing for next year, how many I need to start, and where they're going to go. Because I don't have a lot of space that I'm working with. I don't have a dedicated raised bed vegetable garden, so it can be kind of difficult figuring out how many of each and how much room I have to dedicate to each variety. So this is the best way that I could think of starting it, because now what I'll do is go through and mark off on a calendar, whether it's on my phone or a calendar, you write on. It might even be helpful to put notifications on your phone so it tells you when you're supposed to be starting all this stuff, because just knowing that all the seeds you have require different time frames of starting, that just overwhelms me and I don't know where to start. So I just wanted to come on here quickly and give you a little video about how I am organizing my seeds so you guys can start doing this. This is an excellent project when you don't want to be outside during the winter months when it's kind of nasty and cold, but it's still garden related, so it still kind of feeds that hobby of mine. So I hope you guys plan on growing a lot of things. Let me know in the comments below if you have a seed you're particularly excited to grow this year, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.